Hey y'all, it's Sheree. What's up? How y'all doing? Hope y'all staying safe. I'm probably gonna say that until 2021, so stay safe out here, y'all. I am doing a video on porosity today. This is a video that I promised to talk about, a topic that I promised to touch on since I probably started doing natural hair content on YouTube. But I'm especially pushed to do this video for Darren. Darren's birthday is in May, so I wanted to knock this video out for Darren's birthday. Darren has been pushing me to do this video for months now. Happy birthday, Darren. I hope this video is worth the wait. So let's get into it. So what is porosity? Porosity is the ability of our hair to absorb water or to absorb moisture. In my opinion, porosity is the most important aspect of natural hair care. If you don't know how to moisturize your hair, you're not going to get booty crack length hair. You're not able to retain length and get booty crack length hair. You're not able to keep your hair nice and soft. You won't be able to prevent breakage. If you don't know your porosity, you won't know how to moisturize. You won't know how to deep condition. You won't know how to layer products. Porosity is super duper important. It's not something that we talk about enough in the natural hair community. When I found out my porosity, it changed my life. I was doing a lot of things that didn't work for my porosity, and it's not just porosity, it's also strand thickness, the size of your individual strands, as well as hair density, the amount of strands you have on your head. But I want to talk about porosity today because it's so important, and I can do another video talking about strand thickness and density if that's a video that you're interested in. So let's talk about porosity. So I told you what porosity is, but sometimes we all need a visual, right? We need a way to visualize and understand something. Well, I think of porosity as a cup, and I think of a faucet. I think about the faucet's ability to put moisture into the cup. There are three types of porosity. There's low porosity, medium porosity, and high porosity. But we know natural hair is not that simple, right? Some of us have low porosity sections, some of us have high porosity sections, some of us have medium porosity sections and low porosity subsections, high porosity subsections. Some of us change porosities over time. You may start out as low porosity, but maybe you're dyeing your hair, you're coloring your hair, you're using a lot of heat. When you get a relaxer, your porosity can change. Porosity can change. Porosity, depending on the health of your hair, can ebb and flow. It can ebb and flow, right? So that's porosity in a nutshell. But like I said, I think porosity as a faucet. So let's think about that even more. So I personally have low porosity. So my cup, or my hair cuticle, for those of you who don't know, the cuticle is the outermost layer of your natural hair. For low porosity, our cuticle lays closed. So that means, like our cup or our hair cuticle, it's hard for moisture to get into our hair. It's hard for moisture to get in, but once it's in, it stays in. But getting that moisture in, honey, is going to be a struggle. And I'm also going to give you some tips in this video of how to handle low and high porosity hair. Medium porosity is something that I can discuss, but it's kind of a simple part of porosity. It's really the polar opposites of low porosity and high porosity, where a lot of us find our struggle. So medium porosity, like I said, it's pretty simple. Moisture gets in, and once you seal it in, the moisture stays in. It's no guesswork really when it comes to medium porosity. And high porosity, man, our cup stays open, our cup it overflow, but once the moisture gets in, the moisture goes out so easily because there is spaces in our cuticle where the moisture can easily escape from the hair strand. Unless it's sealed with an oil and a butter, moisture gets super easily into high porosity, but the moisture doesn't stay unless you do methods and techniques to make that moisture stay into the hair. So does that make sense? Think of a cup. You got low porosity, moisture, it's hard for moisture to get in. It takes a lot of work, a lot of attention for the moisture to get into the hair. There's medium porosity, got that somewhere in the middle, then there's high porosity. Moisture goes into that cup or into that hair cuticle very easily, but it also escapes just as easily. Make sense? Make sense? Now let's talk about how you can test your porosity. There's a lot of information on YouTube of how to test your porosity using a cup test. You put a clean strand of water into a cup, and if it sinks to the bottom, you're high porosity. If it flows to the top, you're low porosity. And if it's somewhere in the middle, you're medium porosity. Throw that method away. It's trash, it's basura. More than likely, hair is going to float because of the surface tension of water. Your hair is more likely going to float than not. So everyone out here thinks they're low porosity. They're doing things for low porosity hair. They're avoiding protein because they're low porosity. They're doing this because they're low porosity. And the whole time they're not low porosity at all. It's just that literally the basic science of surface tension is not allowing the hair strand to penetrate the surface of the water. So yeah, okay? I'm going to do a separate video on the myths about low porosity hair, but I mean, I don't want to make this video too long, so we're just going to talk about the basics, right? The first test is asking yourself this simple question. How long does it take your hair to absorb water? Go into the shower, put your head under the shower stream, or if you wash your hair in the sink, put your hair in the kitchen sink and run water on your hair. How long does it take for your hair to absorb water? Does it take a minute? Does it take 2 minutes? Does it take 3 minutes? How long does it take for your hair to get wet? If you're low porosity, it's going to take you a minute. Even if your hair isn't super thick, it's going to take you a minute for the water to get into your hair. You're going to find you having to press the water into your hair to get the moisture in. If you're high porosity, your hair is going to absorb the water fairly quickly. Your hair probably automatically gets drenched in water. So that's the difference. Another example I like to use is think about when it rains outside or when it's snowing. I'm low porosity, and if I'm outside in the rain, the water is literally just going to sit on my hair to the point where I can just shake my hair off like a dog. If it's snowing outside, the snow is going to sit on my hair and I can just shake it off like a dog. Look at this clip of my hair. I'm in the shower and you can literally see the beads of water sitting on my hair. That's how you're going to know you're low porosity. If you're high porosity, the water is just going to sink in your hair because like a cup, it easily gets water into the cup. But for low porosity, my cup does not run it over. It takes a lot for my cup to get water in it. The water just ends up sitting on my hair. A next question to ask yourself, how long does it take for your hair to dry? I'm low porosity. It takes 2 days usually for my hair to dry. From washing to styling, it takes my hair 2 days to dry. I watch YouTube with a lot of people who can just do a wash and go, for instance, and literally within 3 to 5 hours their hair is dry. I wish. When you're high porosity, your hair is probably going to dry super fast. You're going to do a twist out or a wash and go, and within the same day, your hair is probably going to dry fast. But if you're low porosity, it's probably going to take you maybe 2, sometimes 3 days, especially if your hair is thick, for your hair to dry. That's a sign that you're low porosity or high porosity. How does your hair feel moisturizing on soaking wet hair versus damp on dry hair? On my low porosity hair, I find that it's better for my hair to absorb moisture on damp or dry hair. That's because I don't have a coat of water blocking out the potential moisture from my leave-in. I find people who are high porosity, they can come out of the shower and directly apply water or apply their leave-in onto their hair, and their hair is going to absorb it fairly quickly. But for my low porosity hair, especially because I also have fine strands, that doesn't work for me. I do see people on YouTube who have low porosity hair and they apply leave-ins on soaking wet hair, and that works for them, but you really have to figure out what works for you. If you're applying your product on soaking wet hair and your hair is not absorbing that moisture, try applying it on damp or dry hair instead. Don't force your hair to do something that it naturally does not want to do on its own. You're causing your hair more damage than good. Do products often sit or flake on your hair? With low porosity, it's hard for products to get into your hair like we talked about throughout the video. So even if you don't apply a lot of product, it's still hard for product to sit on your hair. And if you're heavy-handed like me, oh honey, it's just going to sit there. When product sits on your hair, there's nowhere for it to go, so it's just going to flake and flake off. That's just what's going to happen. If you're high porosity, you probably don't struggle with products sitting on your hair because your hair readily and easily absorbs the product. So if you're high porosity, you probably do not have this issue. And I'm using words like probably or likely because everyone's hair is different. Literally everyone's hair is different. So there's no hard and fast rules for any of this. And the last question you need to ask yourself is that, are you able to retain moisture well? With high porosity hair, it's really easy for that cup to be filled with water. But like I've said before, the moisture just disappears like that if you don't do things to retain that moisture in the hair. If you're high porosity, it's probably likely that you struggle with retaining moisture in your hair. Your hair might feel amazing on day 1, but by day 2 or 3, your hair may feel dry. With low porosity, once you get moisture in your hair, that moisture can last from wash day to wash day, even without doing much and without little manipulation once the moisture gets in. I literally moisturize my hair 1 day a week, and I have moisture from wash day to wash day if I'm using my favorite products. Obviously, I'm a product junkie. I'm always trying stuff, and some things don't work as good as others, but by and large, I'm going to have moisture from wash day to wash day on my low porosity hair. Now let's talk about tips to manage your porosity. I've talked about how to test porosity, I've talked about what porosity is, but now that you have a better understanding of what porosity you have, what you gonna do now? For low porosity hair, and this could really be a separate video, but I want this video to be jam-packed with information that can be a reference and a guide for those of you who are trying to discover more about your natural hair. The first tip that I have for low porosity hair is to DC and style on dry or damp hair. This does not work for everyone. There's no hard and fast rule, but if you find that your hair is not retaining moisture, you find that your styles are not coming out popping, try styling and moisturizing your hair on damp hair. So once you come out of the oh, you blowing me. Once you come out of the shower, wait about 15 or 30 minutes and then go in and style. Try that and see what happens. I have a detailed video on how to deep condition natural hair, especially low porosity hair. You can definitely check out that video right here. It's going to be super, is it? No. Right here. Check out that video right here. It's going to be super helpful. It'll give you some more tips of how to properly condition your hair. I also have a video on the LCO versus the lock method, trying to figure out which method works great, but also showing how you can apply products on damp hair as well. So that is another great resource. You want to use heat in your moisturizing regimen. I prefer using a hair steamer. You can use a hooded dryer. You can use a heat therapy wrap. You can use a hot head. There's multiple ways to get moisture into your hair. I like using wet heat from a steamer. I'm going to go in depth on steaming in a separate video, but you want to incorporate heat. Whether you use a steamer, a hooded dryer, whatever, you want to use heat because heat opens up the cuticle layer and allows moisture to get in. You can use heat on high porosity hair too, but it is most important in a low porosity hair regimen. You want to rinse your hair with warm water. There's a lot of science out there about using cold water to close your cuticles. When it comes to low porosity hair, you want to keep your cuticle open as long as possible. So throughout your wash day, you want to use warm water, as warm to hot as you can stand it. Obviously, you don't want to fry your hair with no water, but you do want to use warm water. Don't incorporate any cold water into your regimen because your cuticles are going to lay closed anyway. So you don't need to do that. Use warm water as much as possible, from washing to spritzing to refreshing. Use warm water. The last tip is to avoid products that close the cuticle. So products such as apple cider vinegar are great for cleaning your hair, but what they can do because of their acidic nature is that they close the cuticle. And when you have low porosity hair, you're trying to avoid closing your cuticle. I know a lot of us recommend using apple cider vinegar. It's a big thing in the natural hair community. I would just recommend being careful with products that close your cuticle. The same goes for aloe vera juice. Even though I personally love aloe vera juice, I didn't like aloe vera juice in the past. I found that it made my cuticle feel weird, but now that I kind of mix aloe vera with other ingredients, I find that I have a better experience. But aloe vera juice by itself can make my hair feel a bit strange sometimes. And if you find that you don't like products with aloe vera juice, it may be because you're low porosity and aloe vera does not work on your low porosity hair. Now let's talk about some tips for high porosity. You want to rinse your hair with cold water. So all of these tips are more likely going to be the opposite of low porosity hair. When you are washing your hair, of course you can use warm water, but your final rinse, it'll be nice to close your cuticle with cold water. As cold as you can stand it, to allow your cuticles to lay closed. You want to use cold water so that when it's time to style, you have a better chance of keeping that moisture sealed in. For high porosity hair, protein treatments are your friend. High porosity naturally has holes and dips and all that stuff in the cuticle, so you want to use protein to fill in the gaps in the hair cuticle. Don't avoid protein treatments with high porosity hair because you're never going to retain length. If you have cracks and gaps in your cuticle and you're not filling them in, what's going to happen? At the point where you have a space or a gap, it's going to break off. So if you have high porosity hair, protein treatments will come through for you. Deep conditioning is a must with high porosity hair. You may not need to use heat on every wash day like somebody with low porosity hair, but you have to condition your hair. Your high porosity hair can often be dry if not sealed in with an oil or a butter or something like that. So you want to deep condition. Deep conditioning is going to work on every kinky curly hair type. If you're kinky curly and you're not deep conditioning your hair, I don't really know how you're able to retain length because deep conditioning is so important. Our hair is naturally dry, it's naturally breakage prone. So deep conditioning will help to keep our hair nice and soft hair retains length. Lastly, layering products are super important. Layering products works for low porosity hair, but it is super important in high porosity hair. So high porosity hair, you want to have a layer of a leave-in, you want to have a layer of a cream, and you want to have a layer of an oil. Whether you do the LCO or the lock method, you want to have at least 2 or 3 layers at all times. I'm sure there's some low porosity people that can just use a leave-in and a styler and have moisturized hair. That may not be the case for high porosity hair. You may want to do just a little bit more. Do a little bit more and seal in the moisture with an oil, a butter, or a cream or something. Just have to do a little bit more work to keep the moisture in your hair. But whew, that's been a lot of talking. I just hope I'm making sense. I hope this video was helpful to y'all. I hope I helped you to find your porosity. I hope you've learned some more about your porosity, how you can test your porosity, how you can manage it. If you have any more questions about porosity, you're a bit confused about something I said in this video, definitely feel free to comment down below. Is there anything I said that you agree with? Is there things that I said that you don't agree with? Let me know down below. Let's talk about it as always. Do this test, answer these questions, and I'm sure it will help you get the results that you need. Y'all have seen my hair transform on this channel, and I just look forward to continuing to give you more tips. And yeah, that's it. I'm out, y'all. I've been talking way too damn long. Peace. Bye, y'all.